This is the story of one man's journey. He embarked on an adventure from which he would never return. He was one man who went to fight for a cause that ended in futility.
Dateline Northern Spain, 1937. Fascist forces led by Generalissimo Franco have the Republican troops and their allies in the international brigades.
That man was my uncle, Elkan Leon Wenkos, my father's half-brother, a man he barely knew. Even though they were born a generation apart, my father named me Jordan Elkan Wenkos for him as a tribute to his desire to make a difference in the world. His opposition to the threat of fascism is what ultimately led me to question the fate that befell him as a combatant during the Spanish Civil War. Elkan was an enigmatic character who, at age 22, incredibly decided to curtail his studies at NYU in 1936 to enlist in the Abraham Lincoln Brigade, a unit of American volunteers independently formed to combat the fascist forces besieging Spain. Ultimately, we, the producers, will attempt to recreate his journey by retracing his footsteps, which will hopefully reveal where his remains lay. When and if we find him, we will endeavor to bring him back home to inter him in a more suitable resting place surrounded by ancestors and loved ones. Along the way, we hope to learn what happened to this little-known relative who was struck down on a nameless battlefield in the hinterlands of Spain. To this day, 80 years later, we have no idea where his remains might be. Only rumor and unverified intelligence gives us a hint of a starting point. The truth remains elusive. As far as we know, Elkan is missing in action. Possibly he survived and is still one of the disappeared, one of the forgotten, or one of the fallen. So here we are, on a voyage to discover what became of one of the heroes of the Lincoln Brigade. All of the volunteers were heroes and ought to be remembered as such. It is my hope that I can learn something of myself as this story unfolds. Recently discovered records might shed some light on this unsolved family mystery that shrouds the Hemingway-like saga of my Uncle Elkan. Many college students across the United States volunteered to fight for the Spanish Republic. One could only wonder why so many people from diverse cultural backgrounds would fight in a conflict thousands of miles away. We intend to find out what motivated them to join that fight. More specifically, we will follow the timeline of Elkan's arduous journey from the comforts of college life to action under fire on the Aragon front. The Spanish Civil War has inspired some of the finest artists of the 20th century to create their most important works. We will look deeper into the essence of these master works to illuminate the correlative effect it had on the war as well as present-day Spain. Picasso, Dali, and George Orwell are just a few of the artists we will cover. In the concluding chapter of his story, we will recreate Elkan's last days on the battlefield in order to bring the period of the Spanish Civil War into contemporary focus. In the course of discovering what befell Elkan during his fight for freedom, we hope to unearth others who fought by his side. As for the information we presently have, No one found his body. No one was with him when he died, and no one was left to bring him home.